Take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to the beautiful Indian country that I love.
Hi, this is Jim from RV4x40.com. Glad to have you with us today as we explore the first leg of our 2017 trip to Alaska. We started out from a campground in central Iowa, a little north of Des Moines, and headed over into South Dakota. We stopped at three interesting points once we arrived in Iowa's next door neighbor. The first was Badlands National Park, then Wall Drug in Wall, South Dakota, and lastly at Mount Rushmore. This video will show you the highlights of each of these places as seen through our camera as we started the very long trek to the 49th state. I hope you enjoy this video as much as we enjoyed our stops at these three places. Badlands National Park is on the western side of South Dakota, about an hour's drive east of Rapid City. It consists of 244,000 acres of sharply eroded buttes and spires that were created through water and wind erosion, exposing layer after layer of sedimentary rock. The layers of rock were laid down millions of years ago when the Great Plains were under seawater. The sea receded, but various environments continued to deposit layers of sediments. The layers are mild reds and browns and show up as striking contrasting layers in black and white photographs or pale pastels in color. The flat prairie land leading up to the edge of the Badlands is deceivingly placid. Then all at once you see these magnificent valleys and peaks that have been carved out of the land, creating the valley with the White River that did much of the carving almost out of sight in the distance. The Lakota people called the place Makosika, or Land Bad. There are extreme temperatures with a range of -40 to +116 degrees Fahrenheit. There is not much water with hot, dry summers and occasional violent thunderstorms. Hailstorms and tornadoes can happen with sudden extreme fury for the unprepared. Winters are cold with 1 to 2 feet of snow typical. The rugged terrain makes passage difficult. In spite of that, these were fertile hunting grounds for native peoples. The Badlands have one of the most complete fossil accumulations in North America. Erosion continues to eat away at the buttes and can expose new fossil deposits at any time. This rich trove of fossils has been a core resource for understanding the development of North America by studying its fossil record. Within the park you can see bison, bighorn sheep, prairie dogs, coyotes, foxes, deer, and many other species of mammals. We got to take some pictures of sheep as well as prairie dogs, including one with a Ruffles potato chip that some tourists left behind. Take a look for him at the end of the pictures of the prairie dogs. One of the more famous tourist destinations in South Dakota is Wall Drug Store in Wall. The store started in 1931 and became the thriving institution it is today. At the beginning, the Great Depression was taking hold, but Wall Drug started offering weary, thirsty travelers a treat: free ice water. They still offer the water and a whole lot more today. Wall itself is a town of about 800 permanent residents, but the town draws more than 2 million visitors each year. That amounts to an average of over 5,400 visitors each day of the year that stop off there. We had lunch there and it was very good. Not exactly gourmet food, but substantial and very tasty. We also had a chance to wander around the backyard for a picture with a life-size South Dakota rabbit and a chance to climb on the back of another rabbit. It's a fun place to stop and visit, especially for the kids of all ages. Our last stop in South Dakota was the iconic Mount Rushmore with its giant carved likenesses of Washington, Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. The carving is the work of Gutzon Borglum, and he chose these four because he felt they represented the most important events in our history. The idea for the sculpture goes back to the end of 1923 when the South Dakota state historian, Doane Robinson, suggested a sculpture in the Black Hills. The carving was authorized by the federal and South Dakota governments in 1925. The first carving started on October 4th in 1927. July 4th, 1930 saw the dedication of the Washington figure, and August 30th, 1936, the dedication of the Jefferson figure. 1937 and 1939 saw the dedication of the Roosevelt figure and the Lincoln figure. Gutzon Borglum died on March 6, 1941, and the work was carried on under the direction of his son, Lincoln Borglum, until October 31st, 1941, when it was completed. All told, it took 14 years for this massive carving project to be completed to the point that it is. Borglum's original concepts were for much more detailed body figures than just the heads, but what he did is an amazing work. The park has some very interesting displays of the techniques used to create scale models of the figures and then translate those models into solid rock. The project started and stopped at times due to funding issues, but is a monument not only to the presidents depicted there, but to the man who had the dream and the tenacity to carve a mountain. Nearby, there is another memorial being carved out of another mountain, the Crazy Horse Memorial. This will be larger and more complete than the figureheads of Mount Rushmore and is an inspiring undertaking in its own right. So far, the head of the Indian is clearly visible, and work continues to make the rest of the sculpture a reality. Well, there you have our first set of stops on our way out of the U.S. into Canada. One side note, and this isn't any kind of scientific study or anything like that, but our impression was that of all the 29 states we've traveled through since retiring, that South Dakota gets the award for the best overall road surfaces. That is something that is increasingly important as roads and bridges continue to decline in quality and maintenance just about everywhere. Our hats are off to them and their road crews for doing such a good job. Thanks for watching this video and coming along for part of our ride to Alaska. It was a pleasure having you with us. If you like what you saw, please click on the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a new episode coming out. We'll see you somewhere on the highways of America or back here on YouTube the next time.